Good evening and welcome back to Vegas October 1 Sounds. It's been a while since I've been on, and I thought I should update folks as to what's happening and where I'm going. My family and I are doing well. Our health is great, and since we're all in that vulnerable age group known as senior citizens, we're just kind of hunkered down now. And it's given me some time and opportunity to reflect and review and think about where this channel wants to go in the coming months. And so I started putting together a list, albeit incomplete, of where I think I should be going in the coming months. So in no particular order, I'm going to share with you what I'm thinking. And if you have some pet projects you think I might want to include or give some emphasis, feel free to comment. Doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. Maybe I'll grab a hold of it. Things like that. So I realized in my channel I focused on education, presenting the concepts and understanding necessary to grab a hold of the results I have and to have faith in their reliability and accuracy. But I think I've failed to present overall the big picture. How do you localize where the shooter is? Well, I've presented, a number of techniques, but I've never put them all together and laid out the concepts that are common to all of them. And I think that's something that I should do. So, to get that all done, what I'm going to have to do is, come up with a glossary of terms, some little index that you can go to, probably in PDF format, where you can look up all the terms that are used, because each of these videos tend to be complex, and there's no need for it to be any more complex than it has to be. And then the real big project is coming up with a position paper. Given what I know, what do I believe happened in Vegas? What can I prove happened in Vegas? What is speculation? What's left to be done? And, just generally where things stand. Now, that's a big project because I've got more than, 90 videos to summarize and present the results in. I like to keep this paper less than 20 pages, and I'd like to keep it as math-free as possible, but I would like to provide the concrete results that people can rely on and why they're accurate and why you can believe them. And as part of that process, I'd like to also do another video and/or paper on how to localize a shooting location based upon the time of arrival and the time delta of arrivals, and also the lag, which I have explained pretty extensively. And if you don't understand what that means, that's okay, because when that video comes out, you'll fully understand it. And then I'd like to spend one, maybe even two videos talking about irrational arguments, unsubstantiated theories, and assertions and opinions that are barely even that. Because there seems to be a lot of that in the community. It's fine to hold an opinion, but then to come along and assert its truth with no supportive evidence whatsoever seems a bit ridiculous. And so I think it's worthy to look at the various arguments that are being used and to explain from my perspective why they're completely out to lunch. And then some of the things that I haven't done is present any information that I've collected on hits, and that's for a very good reason. I only have about 150 to 200 documented hits, where a hit is a sound associated with what I believe was a bullet interacting with a physical object, be it a board or be it a person or be it the ground. And so, I need to create a visual tour of what I think the hit was and what the sound is. And that's, how do you prove that a bullet hit something? It's kind of hard unless you can have both the visual confirmation, and I do have visual confirmation in some cases, but the vast majority of sounds that I believe are hits don't have visual confirmation. But through a process of logic and rationalization and understanding what happens to the energy and frequency of sounds when they do hit something, and by comparing it to known uh, hits from other sound sources, we can narrow it down. So that's one video that needs to be done. I've already started on this and have a preliminary of it, but item number 6, I guess we can go ahead and increase the size of this to make it a little more visual. On item 6, there's this program out there on the internet that allows you to play. It's an interactive program. It's a simulation of sound, and it goes through and allows you to look at the underlying basis for sound, namely particle interaction. In our case, we're looking at the molecules and atoms of air. And it then takes you, after you have the ability to visualize that, it takes you through how they interact, how they can interact with objects, and what the waves look like and all that. And it's a fascinating little tool. And I've recorded 2 or 3 hours of me playing with it and talking to you about what it means, how it looks. Because there's a lot going on with sound. It's not just the models of a ever-expanding sphere or conic shape. There's the main process or the main physics behind it are really fascinating and really complex. But this little interactive tool allows you to play what-if games and shows you the consequences of the what-if questions and how they interact and the nature of the propagation of sound that occurs. And then I'd like to put together a list of 200 questions of the most commonly asked things about gunshot acoustics, particularly as it relates to the Vegas shooting. So, for example, how far can you hear the supersonic crack? How loud should it be? When does it propagate? Why? Just all sorts of the questions that people have asked. And then on the flip side of the coin, I'd like to also write a paper on the myths and lies and misunderstanding and 8 questions regarding all things that are just leading to misunderstandings, leading to confusion in the Vegas situation. Every day I can pick up a video on the Vegas shooting, and I could hear someone saying things that aren't true. They aren't true from the physics. They aren't true from the psychoacoustics. They aren't true from the acoustics, and that bothers me. And so I'd like to put together a list of all those things. And then a rather massive project that I've got going, and I don't know how I'm going to present this in a reasonable time frame, is take the sounds that I've looked at and compiled, present the spectrograms with them, so that anybody who has any questions might find some useful information. That is, what does a car horn look like? What does a door slam look like? What does a gun sound like? A supersonic crack, a muzzle, all these things. People walking, people screaming, gas leaking from a cylinder, bullets hitting metal, bullets hitting people, bullets hitting the ground. There's just a vast array of sounds that I've looked at, that I have spectrograms for, that I think that if shared will give people a sense of what sound analysis is a little bit about a little bit. And it can also be used as a base reference for people who might actually want to go in and do their own spectrograms. And then item number 10, I debated over this. Behind all the results that I do, there's some complex math going on. Even when I'm just sticking with geometric and trigonometric analysis, even there the math becomes kind of involved, kind of cumbersome, and the implications of even a few of the equations are not convoluted, but sometimes not easily revealed either. And so what I'd like to do is take for each concept that I've presented and delve into the math, at least from a trigonometric or geometric sense, and write down the equations with explanations so that people can take that for themselves if they're so inclined and use it or replicate it or whatever they want to do with it. Because it's one thing to tell you that I've used, the least squares fit algorithm to find the best solution to an answer, and it's another to show you how it works, and even another to explain to you in mathematical terms how to write it and how to implement it. So there's a lot of work there. And I'm also been exploring the use of video editing, and I've chosen VSDC, which is a semi-free version of a video editor that I think is adequate for my needs. So I'm learning how to do things in there, and as I go along, I'd like to create probably a 1 or 2 hour series where I explain very graphically what sound is, and cover all of its aspects as it relates to the Vegas scenario. I'd also like to do a little short flick, less than 15 minutes, on a tribute to the fallen. And I'd also like to do a taxonomy of the sounds recorded there on the shooting. And I'd also like to do, as I mentioned above, a taxonomy of the hit sounds recorded. And then I'm toying with the following ideas. Behind each analysis there's math, as I just explained, and what I'd like to do is write a paper of about 3 pages in length for each one of those concepts. And I figure there are going to be about 100 of them. And then I can combine them into one volume, and that forever, puts a stake in the ground of what I'm doing. When I look back at my channel, I've spent a lot of time, a tremendous amount of time, trying to share my experience with people on gunshot acoustics. But, I come away a little empty. And I come away a little empty because if I want to know something at a deep level, YouTube is not the place to go. YouTube is a good place to come up with a superficial understanding of something. But for me anyway, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, I need those research papers that show me the details, that show me the math, and that give me the best understanding. And while I don't want to write PhD level thesis papers,